Welcome back to the new series of Gambit Guide, and today I would like to start with interesting line which, rare to say, you can get from different moves orders, but it has one name, Spielmann Gambit. So Rudolph Spielmann was one of the I was a top grandmaster in the last century. I would say the early years of the last century. So he was maybe top 5 after Alekhine, Capablanca, Nimzovich, and maybe Manuel Lasker. And his style was extremely aggressive. And this gambit line called after his name because he just produced this idea, which became just quite popular even in today's practice. So I would say about 100 years ago, maybe 90 years ago, when Alekhine defense and all different modern hypermodern ideas like e4, d6, e4, knight f6, e4, g6 become quite popular. So Rudolf Spielmann played 2 important games against Sala Landau and Raphael Dominic in 1933 and 1934, when after knight c3. So instead of pushing the pawn after e4, e5, I just simply protect the pawn. And now black has 2 basic answers here, of course. Black could play e5, which will allow the winner gambit f4. So it's quite similar to the king's gambit. So, but here after f4 already played after white developed knight on c3 and black developed knight on f6. So according to the theory that after knight c3 the strongest and the most logical continuation is d7, d5. So when black is immediately attacking white's e4 pawn, and after e5, so we get just critical position. As I said, this line could be reached from the 2 different moves orders. So one is e4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, e5, like in this game. And second option, let's say when after e4 black is trying to answer d5, and white instead of going into the classical e takes d5 Scandinavian defense, or Scandinavian gambit, which could be reached after knight f6, white is playing knight c3 and black playing knight f6, and we are getting the same position. So after e4, e5, so black has few different moves. So first of all, it's absolutely clear that move like knight g4 cannot be recommended because knight is just far away from the black's position. After d4, white is just support the pawn. The knight could be easily attacked after h3 or bishop e2, so white is getting just a lot of tempi. So the old continuation here was knight e4. However, even now, after knight c3 to e2, so this move is very unusual. However, you can see that black's knight on e4 is just in serious danger. So let's say white is intending to play d4 and then f3, and knight just cannot escape. For instance, after e6, d4, and if black tries to counter-attack white center after c5, f3, what can you do about the knight? So there is no time for queen h4 check because white simply answers g to g3. So black has to move the knight on g5, and right now white has a move which immediately traps the knight. Could you find it? White to move and win immediately. So we have to attack the knight, but with one of the pawns, or f pawn or h pawn. Unfortunately, f4 cannot be played because this will allow black's knight to back